just tampered with, but influenced artificially. Yes. Back to the timelines. So your future would be a kind of a probable one if you could see that, but it's not possible because you're never going to stay exactly on the same, of that snapshot. It's like you can't step into the same river twice, and this is like a constant sound symphony, of it's a constant fluctuation within a bandwidth, though, of frequencies, vibrations, how I feel. And how I feel, more specifically, how relaxed I am, how little fear I have. And more specifically, how much do I feel myself? How much can I feel myself? How much at ease am I with feeling my pain? Yeah. So according to your fluctuation, every time you dial yourself into a timeline, so you are like, here are all the timelines going, and you're, surfing a certain, and sometimes it's more fluctuation, sometimes it's just like very, very steady like this. And then sometimes it goes like this. It's your overall symphony changing depending on whether you're in stress, you go down in frequency, what kind of building you're in, whether that building is making your aura blossom and making you blossom and feel good, feel light and somehow nourished, and you enjoy being in that building because it has a really, really nice feeling to it. Yeah, and that has very, very much to do with the form again. Yes, the principles of the form and how energy can flow in that form. And then of course, yeah, but I didn't want to get into that, the good chi, yeah, where that comes from. Yeah, so it is always a hypothetical future, because since you're fluctuating, then also your timelines are fluctuating. But, let's just say, as I said in the beginning, it's just the small things, if it's fluctuating in just a little bit, it will just be smaller changes in the future. Smaller changes. Just like the small Mandela effect changes, like, what's his name? Our 3CPO has a silver leg, yeah, something like that. Really weird, I mean, that's really interesting to see, because this is what, it's really, really interesting, because I at least know that I remember it this way, and so many other people too. I know he never had a silver leg, I watched in the 70s, I watched those movies, yeah. So those are small, the small fluctuations that, it doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference, but it does make a big difference, because it teaches us about how time. It teaches us about time. Let's just leave it at that. It's expanding our mind. These little hints. About timelines. So, yeah, but hypothetical, I would reach a certain point, and then that would be the timeline. That would be the timeline. Then the overall area in which the timeline is held together by the limit the limitations of the lowest and the highest vibrating particles within your living system, life form, the body of yourself. So the lower timelines of Earth shutting down just means she's raising up in overall frequency bandwidth, so that the lower frequency timelines are no longer available, because she's not going to find herself. And now I'm going to go back later to make an example on the human level again. She at no time anymore will find herself in an overall state of experience that is that low on the timeline. So, as an example, I will no longer in this lifetime, I know this. I know this because I can feel it. That part is so clear. It's not possible anymore, and I'll explain why. So, I will no longer in this life, no matter how long it will be, but in this, in this body, I guess, yeah? Yeah, in this body. I will no longer experience, so in my future I will not, in my future, until this body and my soul get separated, excuse me, I will not drop lower than there were, which means I will not feel worse. I will not have more fear in my body and contraction and low vibrations. Overall symphony that low, like when I was, and then there are a couple of experiences I'll just pick as a child, like the worst experiences of my life. They were in that time, and I know that it will never go that deep anymore. And I don't even have to go that far. I can go on later in life. Not too long ago, actually, I was in a horrible space. Really hard, difficult, low. I mean, I coped with it really well, but it was, wow, it was really, really intense, yeah. And let's say that was maybe 4 years ago. That was the end of it. And I also know that I can't go back. I can never ever feel that way again. I can never feel that bad again. Doesn't matter what would happen, because I know that certain things will not happen. That my mind will offer me as, well, what if this happens? You would feel terrible. But I know it's not going to happen, you see. I know that's just my mind, or that is the part of my mind that is working on pulling my vibration down. Those are those thoughts that it's bumping up. The higher thoughts, the higher vibrational thoughts bump up the low vibrational thoughts, and then they come in and test you. Are you sure? Are you sure? Or they scare you, Yeah. And really, it is your own fear that you're unconscious of, that's still held also in a belief in your body. And when then another belief comes that is more expanded and challenges that belief to be true, then that belief that believes in itself to be true, but is based in false premise, will be challenged. So that means it comes up and wants to tries to prove itself, And that's all this justification of our mind that we encounter, and also the testing. The testing, yeah. Yeah, so I will never feel that way again. Yeah. And also a nice way for me to gauge this is the difference is also coming very clearly in my dreams. In the way that in my dreams I'm always advanced to my physical body. So in my dreams I have capacities that my physical body doesn't have. Not in all dreams. There are also the dreams that I just don't remember, and those that I remember, but where there's less consciousness than in others. So that fluctuates how awake I am in the dream. And yet there have been these gradual shifts, these gradual changes. And one, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it's the tsunami dream where the tsunami would come, and it would be so, yeah, I would get, it would trigger the thanatos, it would trigger the fear of death of my body. So it would trigger panic, and then in the beginning I would always wake up from the fear of death. In panic I would wake up. But then I would lie there, and it would not be, there would be fear. The fear was triggered. Yeah, so it was like the beginning of feeling my fear. Because I knew it was a dream. Oh, I had a bad dream. And so you try to go back to sleep, and you're soothing those fears then. You're feeling them. You're feeling them. Of course, until you go to sleep, then you don't consciously feel them anymore, and then they will be represented in your dreams. All the emotions of your body. And yes, tsunami. Okay, so first I woke up, then I ran away, and there would be long dreams of running away all the time. And then there was a dream where I was running away, and the thought came to me, it doesn't really make sense to run away because that wave is big enough. And with that thought, there was also that sense that it was a dream, so that also took away the fear. Not that it was like totally, oh, it's a dream. No, it's just like a tiny little thought in the back of your mind. You just kind of know it's a dream, but that's not an active thought in front of the... it's not a thought in your mind. It's a thought that is there, but it's still pretty much asleep. Okay. Yeah, so exactly. It doesn't matter. You might as well... it will probably be easier for you to face it and just relax than run away. It will be a better experience. So in the next dream, I did that. Because I remembered the dream before. And in the next dream, I did that. And when the tsunami wave came, first of all, it wasn't like it would really be in a physical body. Yeah, it's always, in the dreams, it's always very heightened to match your emotions. Yeah. And then I realized, okay, now I'm under the wave, and I just realized nothing changed. So I wasn't really in water, even though I was in water. I should say this. So in the dream, I was in the ocean, but it didn't feel like it. I could breathe. So it's like, I can breathe fine. Okay, I can breathe underwater. All right. So I'm not afraid of this wave anymore. If this was the experience, I'm not afraid of it anymore. I was still a little bit, my heart was going a little bit from this first step, but it was the defining moment that changed. That it was the defining moment of going from like maybe gradually 49 to 51%. that went over that threshold into the 51%, but it's 51% not onto the left coming from the right. It's 51% coming from either left or right into the 0 point, into neutrality, into stillness, into total coherence, into total harmony. So let's say the timelines that existed at the time that I was around, that I was having those experiences, also into the infinite future, right? Which is a potential. And at the same time, it exists. Because at that time, it's a potential. But if you were to, it's a potential. From that moment on, it's a potential. You don't know where it's going to go. But you know partially that it's not going to go, okay, so the potential is also, it's not staying the snapshot from that moment where it was a very terrible experience. From if that frequency would have been steadily moved forwards through within that frequency, it would have been a very, very dark timeline. All right. But given who you are in each moment, it will only take that route if that is within the soul's plan to go, unless there is a break in the plan from your higher soul, from the higher self of your soul. There's a break in the plan. And maybe it could go down for a good reason. For a good reason. For example, your frequency will, at some point, it will go down of your soul on its journey, so that that's the way it learns compassion in physical form. To have compassion for others means to have gone through something similar yourself. There's something you can relate to. And then, of course, it has to do with the opening of the heart. But how does the heart open in the physical form? So how do you receive as a soul in a physical form the experience of an open heart? You first have to incarnate into this physical form. And you have to be able to incarnate into this physical form depending on which DNA you pick up and at what speed rate the DNA within a cell vibrates at. So the sound it makes in hertz, yes, dials itself into or is at that frequency, and also on its on that timeline. And it is the form-giving template. That's what the DNA is. It's the form-giving template. So it is where the light is bent through. The shapes and facets and the colors that it receives. Yes. Not just of the physical body, but also all the timelines that the ancestry line and all the timelines of the soul collectives have throughout time and space dialed themselves into. So that is like a tail of light, a weaving of light right there with the tail of light. These are imprints, just like you would take a photograph there, you know, and then there's an imprint of light and an imprint of color and an imprint of sound. And in this 0 point, all time is at the same time and is always now. And you can always access it. That's the thing. You can access that place of now is all time and now is no time at the same time. Those are the moments in this 0 point, in this total stillness. Okay, so now the lower timeline's closing. I can never ever, yeah. So that just means that the whole earth is rising up, and we're going into a higher timeline where she's never going to touch upon that again. So that means if they're closed, they were just potentials in the first place. Potentials that did not get manifest. And that potential is always in the here now. And so in every moment, depending on how I feel, yeah, that's how I'm, you know, that's where I'm going to go in my timeline. So that also means that that all those life forms on this planet and around it, all the life forms that are, yeah, this is the interesting part, that are vibrating very low, and that if they would stay in that range that they've been vibrating in for a long time, it would have taken them into a lower timeline. That's what they're that's what they're going for, you know. Let's say those beings, and they're going for the lower timelines because they're vibrating so low, and in order to get to the higher timelines, in order to raise your frequency, or what happens when their frequency rises is they bump up against all the negativity within them, all the density within them that is in reverse spin, that is in resistance, that is pushing them down, and they feel all this pain. So there's a natural resistance to that pain. So they don't want to ascend. And they're trying to, you know, they're trying to keep everything low. But what's happening is that the only thing they can do is to prolong it a little bit, But the frequencies are here. These high frequencies are here. We're already, you know, we're swimming through these rivers of high frequencies, or we're flying through these clouds of high frequencies, whichever way you want to describe this, or these high waves of plasma, of gamma ray, you know, ultraviolet rays and whatnot, sun winds. It's all coming at us. It's all coming at us. And so they're going to be attracted to the lowest vibrations. And so the lowest vibrations are like pushed against, well, really what it is, it's the quantum of light that is coming into osmosis. As it's like, as the higher frequencies are coming in, they can start to hear each other. This starts to wake up. The quantum of light starts to wake up. Light starts to open the heart. But what happens? The amassed crustaceans, the densities within the system are now going to be sucked in through the heart. What happens? What does that? What happens then? You feel everything that you have pushed away. You feel all the pain that was too great for you to feel. And when someone hurts another, it's because they are already so callous, they can't even feel themselves anymore. It's like, yeah, what is it? They can't feel themselves anymore, and they're so lost, and they're so terrified, and they feel so terrible that it doesn't matter what they do, because no matter what they do, it's not as bad as they feel. But everything that we do onto another is recorded within ourselves and within our soul.